Hey, good afternoon, everybody. A Sosa, Miami Mortgage. Thank you for joining us today. We're sharing this on YouTube and also on Spotify. So if you guys want to share this, make sure you go click on YouTube and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. The reason being, guys, is just not because of today. Anything that we're doing right now, Henry Felipe, who's part of our team now, is basically doing flyers for a lot of you guys that are on Zoom right now. If you guys send us your headshot and all of your information, Henry will be able to create for you flyers. We've already done two. So we did the conventional loan and we did the FHA loan. And that way you can post it on your Facebook pages or whatever pages you want. You can print them, pass them around in your neighborhood. It's basically got all of your information on there. So it's actually very good. And the reason why I want you to go to YouTube and like it and also to subscribe for it is every time that we do something, whether it's the Miami Mortgage Minute or anything like that, you guys will be able to get a notification and see that it's there. If you want to look at it, try to spend as much time as you can on it, because there's a lot of important questions that people ask, right, Angie? So those are the things that we want people to be able to be educated, right? Things are changing fast in the mortgage industry, right? I read yesterday that two major banks have now decided to basically go under, right? First Rate, which is some of you guys see, and then the stadium in Miami is called Loan Depot Stadium now, right? Well, as of last Friday, they no longer have a warehouse line, which means that people cannot close unless they close it themselves. So me as a correspondent lender cannot close the deal and then sell it to them, right? They have to broker it to them or they have to close it themselves. So things are changing in the finance industry fast, right? And it's because of the fact that the interest rates went up so fast that some of the banks didn't react fast enough, right? And the other reason is that I think Loan Depot was more of a refinance bank, right? They were doing a lot of refinance. And then last year, the year before, they made hundreds of millions of dollars refinancing homes. Now, the great thing is that refinancing will come back, right? So it's a good thing for everybody that's doing their buying now. Anybody that's buying now, you guys should put them in your list so where you can have a conversation with them. Because in about 6 months to a year, the way things are looking, the stock market is not going down, right? It's staying stable, right? It hasn't gone back up to 36,000. It's staying stable at around, the 30, 31,000, point mark. So Bitcoin's coming back. So those are good things, right? So what you have to remember is that these are opportunities for you guys to be able to explain and have a conversation. And the reason why you have a conversation, Carlos, why do you want to keep calling your clients after you close?
Stay top of mind, stay in contact. So whenever a friend, family member, or they want to do another real estate transaction, they think of me right away.
You want referrals, right? So that's the key word. You want a referral. So you want to be their real estate agent for life. The biggest issue that a lot of agents have is that I know a lot of you guys are really good, like Cesar and Carlos. Angie's new to the game. Hey, what's up? So a lot of people come in and they do a deal with a person, right? And that's one of the things that we're working on at Miami Mortgage is we're consistently calling people just to say hello. You can send an email out to them for the holidays, right? You can call them on Thanksgiving. That's the best holiday to call people, right? Thanksgiving. Why? Because just to say thank you, right? Hey, I just want to say thank you. Want to say, see what's going on with you guys and all this other stuff. Good morning, Mitch. Do me a favor, before we get started, everybody that's in this room, let's go to YouTube real quick. And you guys that are here, and all you guys that are watching us on Zoom, go to YouTube if you can, and just go there to Miami Mortgage Group, right? Look up Miami Mortgage Group, and let's subscribe to it, right? I want you guys to subscribe, especially you guys, because, again, I'm trying to give you guys education. I'm not getting anything from you guys signing up for YouTube, but what it will do is we'll send you a notification saying to you guys that, Miami Mortgage Group, A Sosa, has posted something that you guys might be interested in, right? There's a lot of things that we talk about on a daily basis with Miami Mortgage Group, the podcast, all these different things that actually help you guys, right, become a little bit better. Hey, Riley. So we got a little Riley in the house. Thank you for joining our meeting. So this meeting is basically, guys, to ask questions, right? A lot of good questions, right? About what you guys are doing as far as your closing. And it's just not for buyers, right? Why isn't it just for buyers, guys? It's for sellers as well. Because when you go to your listing presentation, right, they gotta move somewhere. Are they moving? And the great thing about Keller Williams, right, and one of the reasons why I'm associated with them is you can send referrals to Alaska, to Chicago, to Detroit, to New York, right? You can find an agent up there, and then that way you get a referral as well. So you always wanna ask, where are they going? And you also wanna be listen, I see a lot of listing agents get a listing, and then the buyer buys with somebody else, which makes no sense at all to me, right? I've seen it happen hundreds of times. Like, I'll talk to the person and I'll say to them, you know, where did they go? I don't know. And that's crazy. So when you put your listing presentation together, you should bring your buyer's presentation with you, right? Because they're going to go somewhere. The first question I ask a seller when I was doing real estate 7, 8 years ago, bless you, man. When I was doing real estate in the past, right, I would always ask the client, so let me ask you, when do you need to move and where are you going, right? If they say to me, well, you know, I'm downsizing, I'm going to the beach, I'm going to North Carolina, I'm going to Chicago, my grandson is 2, and I want to spend more time with them in North Carolina, then, hey, listen, I have some great people that I can refer you to. But if they say they're staying within 40 miles of where you're at, then guess what, guys? You need to tell them, I can help you with that. Maybe I can, if you buy with me as well as sell with me, maybe you can give them a better deal on the listing agreement, right? So you guys can figure that out, because now you're getting 2 deals. And if you can get the buyer, then you're getting 3 deals, right? You're getting the buyer, your seller, right? And then you're gonna get their buyer as well. So those are all the things that you guys should always bring your buyer's presentation, right? And also mention to them, when you're doing your listing presentation as a seller, right, that you have a bunch of buyers. Whether you have one buyer yourself, right? Why do you have a bunch of buyers, Mitch?
Me personally.
I'm just asking a question. Well, how can you justify saying that you have a lot of buyers? You have over 200 or 300 buyers. Why? Because you have an office that has 300 agents, right? And once you come up in the meeting, Jason and Christina always usually say, hey, what are your listings, right? And then when you do your listings, right, then you can mention it to everybody that's in this office or people on Zoom, or you can send out an email blast to all of the agents in the office saying, just list it, right? So now you're legitimately telling your seller, I do have 200 or 300 buyers for this property. Now the seller's gonna be like, wow, this guy is really good. If they're interested, right, then we can do that for them. But you're also gonna show them what the different loan situations are. They can do FHA, VA, conventional, or they can do bank statement programs. So that when you go then get a contract for a bank statement or an investment loan or FHA loan, now your client's educated. What you wanna do is gain more value when you go to your listing presentation as a lister, right? I always hear listing guys say, oh, I only do listings. I'm like, dude, you're leaving food on the table. How do you leave money on the table by not trying to get the sale of you're selling their house, but why don't you get the buy as well? Whether it's in Alaska, Chicago, California, it doesn't matter where they're going, right? You can always find, and that's why it's always good to go to these, family reunions and all these things, because you meet people from different parts of the country, right? And it helps you guys, allow you to be able to do that. So with the sellers, you want to educate them on what's going on in the market as well, right? As far as how long is it taking to sell? Before it was lasting a property, before you put it on the internet, it was already gone, right? Because you had 10 or 12 different offers, right? Sometimes you had 20 contracts the day that you had the open house. Or you listed the house, 2 days later, you had 15 contracts, right? So it's important for you guys to understand that. You want to make sure that everybody that's able to sell is going to buy, right? Somewhere along the line, they're going to buy, or they're going to give the money to their kids to buy. I actually had a client the other day, which is great for me, right? Not great for the agent because the agent didn't do it. And I talked to the agent, he says, I really don't want to deal with buyers. So I told her, refer to some of the people here, and I don't know what she did. But I know that I did the 2 kids that she had the listing for. She gave them each $50,000, and the 2 kids went out and bought with the $50,000 that they got. Good morning, good afternoon. So that's why it's important for you guys just not to go in as a listing agent, but you're the real estate agent for the entire family for the rest of your life, right? Anybody have any comments on that? Did I enlighten anybody? It's a good thought, right? But Anna, when you go out for a listing presentation, you should be thinking double, right? Triple, 4, 5, 6 deals coming out of this one family when you go to a listing presentation. Same thing when you're doing the buyer's presentations, right? So you want to win with your sellers by offering your services for life. And you tell them, I want to be a real estate agent for life, right? Because usually if you find a good doctor, do you leave him? You stay with him, right? So Riley's got a doctor now, right, Diana? And you've probably been taking him to the same doctor for the last 3, 4, 5 years of his life, right? And he's 6, 7 years old, 5. So he's 4, so you've been taking him for 4 years, right? So he's a big kid. So, but you take him, you understand what I'm saying to you, right? You want to keep that client forever. A lot of the real estate agents leave. Listen, you may not even do real estate. You can do referrals. You give them all to Christina's team, right? And Christina can refer them to her team and they can close a deal and give you, what is it? What is your referral that the guys get back? 25, 30%? 25% for doing nothing, just saying, hey, Christina, I'm not doing real estate anymore, right? But I have a client named Mitch Davis, and Mitch Davis is a good friend of mine, and we sold him the house about 2 years ago, and he's looking to go buy a different house, or his son wants to buy a house, or his cousin wants to buy a house. So they're getting 25%. So this is how you win with sellers, guys. But a lot of realtors always say, oh, I only do listings. Somebody's got to buy, right? They're selling for a reason, right? Either they're buying a mansion, right? Or, you know, they're buying a house on the beach, or they're going to give the money to somebody.
Yeah, if you're not doing buyers, that's okay. Just then figure out a partnership with someone that is, so that you don't lose those opportunities. It's still money at the end of the day. And when they buy that property, they're gonna have to sell it one day. So buyers are a great opportunity to get sellers in the future.
Exactly. That's the other thing too. Once you do a buyer, right? There's like, I'll give you a good example. There's a couple of major agents in this office, right? Christina's probably one of them, because I know Christina's been doing a lot of people, because I've done a couple of deals with her, or a few deals with her, and she's had clients that have been with her for 10, 12 years, 8 years, 9 years, right? And now all of a sudden they want to sell her their house in Doral, but they want to buy in Pembroke Pines, right? Because they want to put the kids in the schools up there, or vice versa, right? So now she's got a listing for their house, right? And then she's looking for a house for them. So now she's gotten 3 deals for this family in the last 2 to 3 years, 5 years. But if you got to really think about it, if you don't want to do buyers, then hook up with Christina or anybody that you want to work with and say, listen, I don't want to do buyers, but I want a 25% referral fee. Then you just make 25%. They buy $1 million house, 3%, you know, 30 grand, you get 25% of that, you just made 10 grand, right? $8,000, $9,000, right? So that's a great thing for you guys to think about as well, right? With buyers, guys, you should always show up with all of your different programs, right? When you do your buyers presentations. We have plenty of books in there, right? We have the folders. You guys can just put your card on the front. You can put one of the stuff on the side, where the Miami mortgage stuff is on one side. And then you can put all your Keller Williams stuff that you want for your presentation for them on the other side, which is probably the signing agreement, right? For them as a buyer signing agreement, you want to put that in there as well. So you put your card on one side. We have plenty of folders. You guys could come in and get 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 of them, right? Whenever you're gonna go have a meeting with a buyer, you present them your stuff, and here's the different programs that we have available for you as well, right? And that's how you continue to build. One of the things you wanna keep in touch is, I just got a call this morning from a guy in Tampa, as a referral from a guy that I just did a deal with here in Pembroke Pines. The guy wants to buy his house, right? He's actually offered 2 contracts already. He didn't get it, the first one, I don't know if the second one that he offered on Saturday, he got it. But he's also has his own corporation. He's doing bank statements, but he wants to buy another property as an investment property. So we're gonna do 2 deals with him, just because we just closed a guy in Pembroke Pines less than a month ago. So he told his friend that I just got my house, and his friend called me like the next day, hey, I need to buy my house. So we got that deal going for him. So he's buying his property, and he's also looking to do an investment. So the investment is easy, guys. The investment program right now is 20%, right? That's what they call the debt service loan, DSCR loans, right? It's 20% down, and they just check your credit and the rents. That's it. They don't check anything else. So it's a very simple loan. If you have the money, so let's say you have 401ks, well, that's the other thing too. 401ks, guys, when you have buyers, you should always, you can't tell them what to do, but you should always recommend that they utilize the 401k. Why is that, Carlos, that they want to use the 401k?
Because they're gonna basically take a loan on themselves and pay themselves back, and that way they don't have to use whatever, not as much money as they have cash, because in case something happens, right, they have that money at hand. The 401k, they're basically lending the money to themselves and then paying it back.
That's 100% correct. So guess what, guys? I've seen people that have $100,000 in their 401k, And the reason why I tell you to use a 401k is nothing's guaranteed in your 401k, right? So most of you guys in this room are less than 35, 40 years old, right?
Ain't gonna happen.
So you have 22 more years or 20 more years before you actually can get the money out, right?
Yeah.
So you actually, when you do it, it's not a hardship, right? You have to just make sure that you tell the 401k company, you know, your 401k, whether it's Fidelity, whoever it is, or an IRA, Roth, or whatever, right? That you're buying a house. You present them the contract, they wire the money to your account. And then, like Carlos says, you're paying yourself back. You can utilize all of the money in your 401k that they allow you to use, right? I think it's usually 50 to 60% of your total amount you can use as your down payment and closing costs. So, yes, Christina.
What was the credit, I'm sorry, for the debt ratio, debt service?
The debt service loan?
Yeah,
What do you mean the credit?
you said that they reviewed credit and the.
Oh, yeah, so it's
rent?
your credit scores.
What's the credit score?
They can go as low as 660, right? But the numbers are ugly when it gets to the interest rate.
No, but, okay, so you do have to have good credit and 20%.
Right, so if you, usually people that are gonna do an investment, people that have some money and
Yeah,
have decent
so
credit.
I know that there's a few people here that do social media at a high level.
Right,
So making sure that how do we get that information out? Let's think about how can we show that program? Like,
your,
if you have, and give it in numbers, right, don't say 20%. If you have $40,000 sitting in your bank,
well, 40 might be low. because-
I'm just
Let's
throwing
say
a-
$50,000, you
Okay,
can buy a
if you have-
$200,000 investment.
If you have $50,000, what is it getting you back every single month? And if it's getting you zero back, I have houses for you. That's all you need to qualify, right? And whatever. But at least it gets a conversation going on your social media of, yeah, I already have a house. What do you mean? Like, what can this do for me, right? And now you can have those buyer consultations and show them. You don't need to have, and you could put like, no need for taxes, no need for this.
Right.
You're a business owner and you have 50,000 in the bank and you want money from it, a return. Let me know and I'll.
We're gonna send out that flyer, I think it's in 2 weeks, I think it's coming in 3 weeks. But if you guys need one, because you wanna put it up there, just come see Henry or call me or come to the office and see Javi. What we'll do is we'll be able to create the flyer for you to send it out on social media right away.
Well,
And
sorry, but it's just, I'm trying to think outside the box of them, and video is like king. So that content, yes, a flyer is good to have it as a slide, but the first thing should be a video.
Right.
With
It should be a
Jesus
video,
or by
right.
yourself.
It should be a quick video. Hey guys, you have money saved up? You wanna make passive income? Call me, because I have a great loan for you. All you need is good credit, and no matter how much money you have, because you can get somebody to buy a $60,000 house, right? $75,000 property, which they're not here in Florida right now, right? But let's say a $150,000 condo.
Yeah, in Orlando, there's a lot of condos at a low rate,
Right.
and they're giving you a good return, so.
Right, especially if you can do Airbnb with them, or you can rent them out. Listen, the rents are crazy right now, right? So you wanna, that's what you wanna do the video. The video should be a real simple video. Hey, like Christina said, you have money saved up, call me. I have a lot of houses where you can make passive income, right? And they will pay your rent as well as you earning money and equity on your property. If you're interested, give me a call, blah, 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 blah. It's just a conversation. Just wanna be able to have people calling you about stuff, and I know you're great at that, right? Just gotta get on the video and do it, like Christina said, it's not just a flyer. Yes, sir.
Well, we're on the debt service loan. If we're comparing, let's just say a guy that has the same credit score, let's just say a 720, they're looking into either a conventional or a debt service loan,
It's the same
which
thing.
one
There's
would
no-
give you the better interest rate?
Well, the better interest rate is always gonna be conventional,
The conventional?
right? But it's still an investment,
Right.
right? So you have to show all of your paperwork to do a conventional investment loan, right? With the DSCR loan, they don't check anything but your credit and the property value and the rents, right? So the big thing is that you have to show them that you can pay off your house, if you already own a house, right? If you're doing a conventional investment loan, right? You have to show that you can pay off that debt, plus carry that debt if, let's say, for example, Diana doesn't pay it, right? If Diana doesn't pay that loan, then guess what? The bank wants to make sure that you're making enough money that's gonna cover that. The debt service loan doesn't look at any of that. And it's great for business owners, right? There's a lot of people that are business owners, like the guy that I just talked to. He's got $360,000 in the bank sitting there for the last 3 years. He moved from Philadelphia, opened up an office in Tampa, hasn't done anything with the money. Now they're tired of renting because they wanted to see how Tampa was gonna go. They opened up their own little business, right? They got a tire shop or whatever. And and it's doing really well in Tampa. They're actually looking up to open up another office building, right? So they can do another tie shop. But the guy's had $360,000 for almost 2.5 years when he sold his business in Philadelphia and not doing anything with the money. Should have bought, a year and a half ago, should have bought 3 properties or 4 properties, and now the rents would have been $2,000, his payment would have been $1,200, right? So that's the key. It's a great question. You can do a conventional 15% conventional full documentation loan for an investment. I can do that, right? 15% conventional investment loan, but you have to be able to pay for both houses. So that means that, you know, Diana's gotta be making 120, or her payment on her house is gotta be like 1,800, plus the other house is gotta be like 1,800, and she's gotta be making like $75,000 with no debt. Because the thing that the banks wanna make sure in an investment loan is that the person can pay for it if the renter cannot pay for it, right? Because listen, you get into, people always talk about investments, we don't get into the other side of where you're a landlord, right? You gotta fix things, right? You gotta paint, you gotta fix the oven, you gotta change the AC, you gotta fix the roof, right? All these things come with the investment. The great thing is, you write all that off on your taxes, right? When you have your own house, you cannot write off all those expenses on your taxes. So that's why a lot of people invest money in real estate, because it allows them to be able to write off all of their money that they're making. Like, that's why I got into real estate back in 1995, right? My ex-boss told me, so what are you doing with your money? I said, well, I just bought my house a year and a half ago. He goes, yeah, great. So all these bonuses you're getting of $10,000, $20,000, what are you doing with them? I said, nothing. He goes, you should buy a property every year. And I looked at him like, what? Buy a property with $20,000? He goes, maybe it's every 2 years, right? You save up $30,000, $40,000, you can go out and buy a property with that, right? And I'm talking back in 1995, 96. So I started buying a property almost every year with the bonus that I was getting. And the taxes, it was amazing. I was paying government like $13,000 in taxes, right, a year. After I had my 2 or 3 properties, they were giving me back $5,000 or $6,000. So in reality, I made 20 grand. Because instead of me paying them 13, they were giving me back $7,000, $8,000, $6,000. So that was a home run. So when people invest, like, I got my nephews already involved, and my daughter's already starting to get involved as well as an investor, right? So I want them to have properties now, right? The sooner you can buy properties as investments, the people will pay those houses off for you. Like myself, I have like 3 or 4 houses that the people have basically paid them all off. I've never put a dollar towards the rent or the mortgage, right? Because I always try to make sure, like, I know Ali, you have a few rentals, right?
Yeah.
You try to make sure that your rentals cover your mortgage, your taxes, insurance, your HOA, and maybe $50 over 100, right?
Yeah, you have to make sure that you cover your mortgage payment, if you have association, and any repair that you have maybe to do every 2, 3, 4, 6 months.
Right.
So
You want to keep that, right? And then you just leave everything in that, keep it as a piggy bank, right? But the great thing about that is that you don't see it at the beginning, right? But like I told my brother, who I got into my, we started investing, he got into it with me in 2000, right? And we bought a lot of houses together. And he always used to complain to me like, oh man, I said, listen, every year your wife and you are making X. And instead of you paying the government back, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $10,000, you're basically paying me the $2,000 or $3,000 or getting money back, right? That's the huge difference. At the end of the year, when you get your taxes, you made $140,000, and you got to pay the government back $8,000. That's a huge, huge difference, right? So that's important for you guys to understand that, right? That the investments is just not for you guys to say, oh, I have a property, right? No, the investments is more for you guys to be able to allow for equity to grow on its own, right, as an investor.
So, question for the DSCR loan, if you put 20% down, will the financing cover rehab?
No, that's a different loan. So if you wanna do a fix and flip, the fix and flip does that.
How to fix or flip, just like if it needs like minor repairs to get
They
it,
won't cover that.
fixed
They
up
won't
for
do
renting
that.
or whatever it is?
No.
Okay.
They want the investor to be able to walk into a house that either you're gonna fix it or you're going to have the money there to fix it as well. About 6 weeks ago, they stopped this thing called the reserves. So all investors and people that were buying needed to have reserves in the bank to show that they can cover 6 months of payments, right? Just in case somebody was gone. Well, the debt service loan doesn't ask for that. The conventional loan does, right? Instead of 6 now, they're asking for 3, right? It used to be 12 when the pandemic was going on. They wanted you to have 12 because people weren't paying their mortgage or their rents, because the government said you don't have to pay your rent, right? I don't know how that worked, but thank God, I only had one tenant, and I got him out 2 months later, that he couldn't pay the rent. He was still working. I mean, if you're not working and you're at home, then yeah, but if you're working and you're getting subsidized by the government and you're not paying me my rent, you gotta get out, right? So he was out in 2 months. I made his life impossible. You know why? Because the story he gave me didn't make sense. And I called his job, and he was still working. So I told the dude, I said, yo, you gotta skip on out of here, brother. You're gonna lose your 2 months security because you haven't paid me rent for 2 months, right? He didn't wanna hear that, but that's reality, right? As a landlord, you can't let people go, so you might have to spend money on evicting people every once in a while, right, or doing certain things. But the equity that you're building, I bought properties, guys, in 1995, 96, 97 for 120, 180, that are now worth 350, 400, right? I mean, it's crazy, right? And I haven't paid a penny out of my pocket. I've just been getting money back by writing everything off every year. So it's a huge opportunity for you guys as well, which I haven't really seen anybody that has done it in this office yet. But I have done it with a couple people up in the Pembroke Pines office, right in Weston, that they've come to me and bought properties as investment loans with the SCR. So if you have really good credit, right, and you also have the money, then you should do that. And also things, guys, with the DSCR loan, the interest rates are a lot higher, right? So for a regular loan right now, they're probably in the mid-5s, right? 5.5%, 6%. For an investment loan, it's probably in the 7s. But who cares? Why? Why do I say that, Caesar, that you don't really care about what the interest rate is?
I would say because maybe you have 7% now, but you can refinance in 2 years.
Well, you could do that, but when you're writing off the interest at the end of the year, right? As long as the rent is being paid, you don't care. I have properties that have 7.5% that I've had for 15 years, right? Why don't I care? Because the rent is being covered by, the mortgage is being covered by the rent, and I'm writing off all of that interest. At the end of the year, I get a statement that says, A Sosa paid on this property $11,362 in interest. It kind of stinks, right? Because that's what the bank is getting, but I'm writing it off as my taxes. So if I'm making 120 and I write off 6 or 7 properties at 8,000, then I'm at 50,000. Now and all the other expenses, now my actual salary is 40.
Yeah, it's like running off a loss on a stock that you sold for less than you paid for.
You pay for it, right? But when you make money in stocks, you pay 40%.
Yeah.
Right? When you sell a property that you have as an investment, the most you can do is pay 20%, or the real smart investor flips it into a 1031 exchange and goes buys a building, or buys a duplex or a triplex or a fourplex, right? So if that money gets rolled over, you pay no tax at all. So your money's still rolling, right? So now you started with a $120,000 house, you sell that house for $350,000, then you go ahead and you get that same property now, right? And that property that you go for $350,000, you go buy a triplex or a fourplex for $750,000, right? And you can put down $250,000 on it, which is your debt service loan, right, if you want. Or you can go ahead and put down 35% and get a conventional loan, right? With the interest rate be a little bit better. You still have, now you went from 1 property to 4. And how much money did you spend out of your pocket? Nothing. 0, right? That's the huge advantage of being able to start and continue to develop. I know a guy that started buying his properties, not investments, right? So he started buying his properties, let's say he bought one, I think he bought his first one in 1994, 93, like $275 in New York. Then he sold that one and bought something like in Yonkers for like $450, right? With the money that he sold, he took it all and he put it as a down payment, right? Then he sold that property in Yonkers and went to Westchester and bought $1.3 million house. But he sold his other house in Yonkers for like $680. So he basically had like equity of about like $450,000 because he started at 120, right? And he used all 450. He put it as a down payment. It was like 35%. Now he's got a $1.2 million property in Westchester, like from 4 years ago. That property's probably worth, 1.6, 1.7 now, 1.8. And he started with a $120,000 house back in 1993, but it's building, right? Just like your 401k. Right. That's why I tell you guys to utilize your 401ks, because you don't know like I looked at my 401k, I just got my statement the other day, right? For the 401k from the company, and I lost like $32,000 last quarter, right? I lost $32,000 because my number was pretty decent because I was in that company for 27 years, and the market was down 8%. Or at least my portfolio was down 8%. So I lost $332,000. That's a lot of money to lose. Because remember, until you don't start taking that money out of your 401k, the money is still rolling, right? So the market crashes down to 20,000, and that 401k now becomes, instead of 100, now becomes 40 or $50,000. So it's good to always use your money from your 401ks to purchase and leave your money in your pocket. Like I told a client the other day, my money in my pocket is always more important than the money in somebody else's pocket, which is the bank. Right? Because they're not gonna give it back to me if I have a problem, right? I can't call the bank, Ed can't call the bank tomorrow and say, hey, listen, my car broke down and I need to go buy a new one. I would say, okay, sorry to hear that.
We can get you a loan for that.
Yeah, exactly. We can give you a 13% loan for that, for your car, right? Or a 6% loan for a new car. We can help you out with that. But if you have the money, now you can go do what you need to do for it as well, right? Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Any questions on any of that stuff that we just talked about? All right, so let's talk about Carlos.
I have a question in general about buyers, but about what we're speaking about right now, can you give some details in regards to the fix and flip loan, like requirements, down payment, credit?
So they always want good credit. You have to buy an LLC. So you have to form, for you guys out there watching, right? You have to form an LLC.
Okay.
LLC is not difficult to form, right? You go to the website in Tallahassee, you open up your LLC. You guys should have either an LLC or a PA right now, right? Right, most realtors have PAs, I don't know why, but I think you can get an LLC. I have an LLC for my real estate, right? So it just says A Sosa LLC real estate company, right? So you can use that, if you have that, or you create one. I think it's like $250 or $250 and do the application.
125.
125, so it's $125 that you can create your own LLC, you name it. You have to find the name that no one is using, right? So if you put down Jesus Sosa LLC and there's another Jesus Sosa LLC, you can't open that. So you have to either put Jesus A Sosa LLC or something that's gonna be an LLC. The fix and flips.
You don't have Black Jesus LLC?
Black Jesus LLC, that, you know what, that's a good thing. Let's open.
Trademark it.
Let's open that. Let's look into that.
You said good credit, right? But what is good credit for that type of loan?
Good credit for these guys, for fix and flips is anywhere between 740, 720 and up.
All right.
And the interest rates are ugly, guys, but if you're a fix and flip person and you're worried about interest rates, you're not in the right business.
Right. And how much down?
It depends. So to answer your question, with Ed's question, with a fix and flip loan, if you have like a 760 or higher, they'll probably charge you anywhere between 15 to 20%.
Okay.
Right? Usually it's 20 to 25%. And then, if you do have great credit and you can show that you have money in the bank, right? They don't want you to use your money. They're gonna give you the money to rehab it.
Right.
They're gonna charge you because they're charging you that money. They're gonna
Right.
charge you the points. So the guys that do fix and flips, there's only like 5 or 6 banks, right? It's basically like a private entity, right? It's a non-qualified mortgage, right? Non-QM is like a bank statement, like a debt service loan. These are not normal loans because they're not checking everything. The government gives you a number, but the government doesn't have to review all the paperwork, right? They monitor it to make sure that no one is stealing, right? You can't go over a certain amount of points. But you can say to Carlos tomorrow to do a fix and flip, I'm gonna charge you 10 points up front. The government can say no because it's a non-qualified mortgage. With a conventional FHA, VA loan, right? They have to, right? Disclose everything to you and tell you cannot make more than, as a mortgage lender, you cannot make more than 3 points in total. That means that underwriting fees, processing fees, any other fees that go into it are part of that. So that's why most people, like in my case, right, like I usually make anywhere between 1.5% to 2.25%, because you cannot go over it. And then I have the lowest interest rates right now because I took a bank that's the #2 bank in the country, which is about to become #1. It's gonna pass Rocket Mortgage in the next 2 or 3 months. They already announced it. They already passed Rocket Mortgage last quarter. And that bank, I took a lower, I'm getting 1.75 commissions so that I can get the best interest rate in the market at the time. So when I take a learning person to that company, right, that person is gonna get the lowest interest rate available at the time. Because I'm only making 1.75, right, versus the 2.25%, which most people make on a loan at 2%, right? So that money that I was supposed to make extra is already buying down the loan, the interest rate. That's why I did that, because the market's getting a little crazy, so it's better to make something than to make nothing, right?
Yep.
So a lot of guys, you see people like, oh, I'm not gonna take a deal for $1.7 million at 2%, I need 3. Dude, making $35,000. It's better than nothing, right? Because if you don't close the deal, you still make 0 from 0, which is what? 0, right? Every day. So the fix and flip is just credit. You have to create a budget, which you have to turn it in. Now, if you have done fix and flips more than 3, your credit, your interest rate is usually like 1.5% to 2% lower. I can actually get you right now like a 9% to 10% if it's your first fix and flip. I've done 2, so when I go do my third one, I probably get that 8.5%, 9%, right? But the normal rate right now is anywhere between 10.5 to 11, sometimes 12. I just did one for somebody who was like 11.5%. That was their first fix and flip. Now, the fix and flip, the key to that is that you don't want to sell it within the first 45 to 60 days.
Right.
Right? The downfall is you cannot use FHA if you sell it before the first 90 days. FHA has a rule that anybody that buys a property cannot sell it and get it, and the person buying it do FHA loans for the first 91 days. Right? The 92nd day, they can go into contract. The first 91, no.
Into contract or to close on 90?
Into contract.
Contract.
You cannot go into contract until the first 91st
So
day.
you're basically closing at 120 days minimum.
No, you're closing, yeah, for you as the
As the investor.
as the investor, right?
Yeah.
You're
From
looking at
the time you
120
buy-
if you wanna do FHA.
Right.
But I sold mine in 40 days. I used Canos, right? I did a deal. I got a great deal for like 240. Should have kept it because I was now worth 450. I sold it for 325 in 48 days, right? So I bought it for 250. I spent like 45,000 on it. I made like 50, almost 45 grand, 50 grand, right? So you do the numbers, right? So it was actually 235 and I put 40,000 into it. So I sold it for 3.25. I was like a year and a half, almost 2 years, no, 2 years ago now in November.
So with that loan, you can't sell it at all within the first 45 to 60?
No, you can sell it the next day.
Just can't sell
You're not
it.
selling FHA.
No, you said before the FHA thing, you said you don't wanna sell it within the first 45 to 60 days.
No, you want to sell it.
Oh, you want it, okay.
Yeah, you
I
want to
was
get
like-
rid of it as soon as possible.
Okay.
Because you're paying 12%
Yeah,
interest.
of course.
So you see those shows
That's why I was
where,
asking you the question, I was like, what is
yeah,
going on?
no,
I'm like,
you want to sell it immediately.
paint, and as I'm painting, sign the contract,
Right.
and.
So what I did was, right, I couldn't sell it FHA, it had to be conventional, right, because I sold it so fast, so it's either conventional, right, or cash. I had a few cash offers right away, and I had a few conventional offers, right? So you wanna list it, like you said, as soon as we did the power wash outside, we did some plants in the front, we took the pictures, we didn't show anything inside, said, and it was available 2 weeks after I got the property. And then we're doing an open house, another 10 days after that, right? Because I took out all the floors and I did the kitchen and I did the bathroom. But I had people working there the day I closed. I closed that Friday, Saturday morning, they ripped everything out. By Tuesday, everything was already in the dumpster and gone. By Thursday, we had all the people coming in there to put the floors in the kitchen, and then the guys for the kitchen were coming in, they went in, they already had all the measurements, so they already were working on the cabinets and everything else. So they did the cabinets at the same time. The cabinets would slow us down the most, took almost 3 weeks, right? But we did the open house the day after the cabinets. The guy bought the cabinets on Thursday. That Saturday, Ali came to the open house, and we had 5 contracts that day, and by the middle of the next week, we had 22 contracts. So we closed. We took a conventional offer. We closed like in 20 days. So the entire process went from buying to closing about 50 days it took, right? But I already had seen the house. I brought people in to get the measurements and get the estimates and everything else before I bought it, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to wait until you buy it.
Right.
You want to get everything ready. You want to have your construction team. I actually have a team that I can call. They're doing it right now because I'm working on the duplex that I got in it's an Airbnb, right? So you can do that as well, right? Get everything done, get everything ripped out and ready to go so people can close. So yeah, the loan for fix and flip is great because you're looking to you wanna make on the fix and flip, guys, you always wanna make about 30% after cost or 20% after cost. Minimum, right? So if you're gonna go and buy a property for 300 and you know that the neighborhood is only selling for 350 and you're gonna put 10,000, don't buy it, right? Because you gotta do closing costs at the beginning, you gotta do closing costs at the end, right? And then you're only making $10,000, you're not even making 3%, right? You wanna be able to produce at least 20% profit. I think I made like 35% profit, right? At the end of the day, or 30%. Right, so most investors that do fix and flips wanna make between 20 to 40%. And you might get lucky, right? Somebody's about to lose their house or something happens and the house is worth 400 and give it to you for 300, right? And then you know when you fix that house, right? There's a client that I just closed on her, right? She bought a house for $600,000, right? She almost couldn't close on it. I was gonna buy it. You know how much the house is worth after she fixed it? Take a guess.
Where was it?
800.
It's here by Meadow Bay.
She bought it for
She bought it for
six.
$628.
Okay.
She stole it from them. They wanted $700. She offered $600. They gave it to her. This is about a year ago. And it took her about 8 months to fix it, right? But how much you think, she just refinanced, how much you think that was worth now?
Million.
$950.
950.
She got $1 for being close.
So, she made almost $300,000. I think she put in like 120, but this is her house though. She's not selling it, right? But these are the opportunities you get. So now, she would have bought the house for $628 is what it closed for. She sells it for $950. She just made $250,000 in 8 months. I don't think any of you guys making $250,000 in 8 months. Last time I checked, right? So that's an opportunity for you guys as investors with money. Like if you have, and you guys, you know what I did with my brother? I didn't have all the money. He didn't have all the money. So we formed an LLC to buy together, right? When we first started buying properties, right? So we were buying them together. Because he had, 20, 30, I had 20, 30, now we can go out and buy a property with 20% down in the closing costs. Right, you can buy more than one person. As an investor for the debt service loan, you can buy with 2 or 3 people on the thing right there, buying it together. You don't have to be one person doing it. And then LLC, you can have 20 people because it's an LLC. Okay, everybody has 15%. So at the end of the day, when they cut the checks, they'll cut the check to the LLC, and then you guys can divide it up whatever way you guys want. Caesar's brain is thinking, he's figuring out which is the next guy is gonna bring into that, right? That's smart. All right, any other questions on these things? Carly?
I'm the only one talking.
Angie, no questions from you? You had a good question.
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
yeah, but you already told me some stuff.
So ask a question.
No, I don't have a question anymore.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, I
That
answered
you
the question.
answered it already, yeah.
So mine is very simple. As far as down payment assistance, right? Like, what are the requirements? And I know you mentioned before, it's people that are not making the money or don't have the money, but like, how do you make sure of that? Because somebody could say, no, I don't have the money, have it in a different account. So how do you go about that?
Account, what does that mean?
Like in a different bank account.
That means different things, right? So you're asking about down payment assistance, and you're
Right.
saying I don't have the money in the account.
Right, no, because I hear you saying, you mentioned before, down payment assistance is for people that are not making the money and don't have enough money for the closing costs and the down payment.
Right.
But I'm saying, like, how do you make certain of that?
I can't. They
So
can lie.
we go basically by what the person
They
is
can lie
saying.
to me, they can give me, because I can't tell, like my TD Ameritrade account might have $1, right? And then,
Your Chase account has $2 million.
well, my Bank of America has 40 million, right?
Right,
And then the other Chase account has 22,000, right? If you only give me the Chase account and the $1 and the TD Ameritrade, how do I know that the Chase account has the 4 million? or 2
right.
million?
And then what are the
So they're lying to me, and then guess what? The down payment assistance usually comes from me, because I don't go through any of these programs. There's a lot of programs out there that are available. The issue that I've seen with a lot of the programs, which I won't mention them, right? But I know NACA was one of them, but NACA's a huge program with Citibank and Bank of America. But they can't close deals, because it takes 60 days to close.
Right.
Who's gonna give you 60, now 60 days for them to say yes, right? Same thing with MD, great program. So when the market flips, right, because we're in a shift, right? If it goes the other way, which is looking like, nobody knows if it's gonna go the other way, because it's crazy right now, right? Yeah, it's like, everybody is like You talk to two experts, they tell you one thing, you talk to two experts, they tell you another one, you talk to another one, it's another one, you don't know nothing. So nobody knows, right? But it's like Charles Barkley says when he talks about basketball, there is no such thing as a damn expert, right? Everybody has got an opinion, like everybody got a you know what, right? But that don't mean nothing, right? It depends on what you feel and what you see and what you've studied and what you've educated yourself on. And you take the risk. Now, if you're right, then you win. If you're wrong, then you
You learn.
lose. So that's it. So there's no way of telling. And the down payment assistance, you know, the Homes for Heroes is great. I've heard that they've had a lot of issues closing loans, right? You don't hear about it right now anymore, right? It was like the biggest thing on June 3rd or whatever it was, and it was out. No one's talking about it. You know why? A couple of my friends are doing it. They're like, Sosa, don't ever do one of these loans, right?
It's similar to NACA.
Right, because you have to wait a long time to get the funds.
Right.
And then there's sometimes that the funds go through quickly through NACA or through Indeed or whatever other program might be out there, right? There's a lot of different programs. There's counties, like let's say maybe Collier County might have a program that if you make less than $50,000 a year, you can do X, Y, Z, right? Does the program work? Probably, right? Yeah, it works. It all depends. In this market, you cannot wait 40, 50, 60 days to close a deal. I mean, you can do it and then ask for extensions. But the first time that you do it, then the realtors start talking about it. Hey, don't take that NACA deal, man. That shit don't close fast, right? So what happens then? It starts getting a bad rap. But they're great programs, right? Like I've closed NACA deals. I've closed MD deals, right? But they take a long time. In the old days, it was not a problem to do those loans. But what I did when I was with the other company, and now I'm in mortgage, right? I take it from my own commissions, right? So like let's say I'm making 2% on a deal, right? And the 2% on a $300,000 deal is $6,000. If I gotta give, Angie $3,000 and make 1%, because it's better than something than nothing, right? And then the most important thing to me is helping the agents close. Because once the agents close, guess what happens? Then after the agents close, and I have a couple of dollars, they can go out and invest and do more things and get more deals and blah, blah, blah. And plus they're gonna say, you know what? This guy's good, he gave me the money back so that I can close my deal because I couldn't give it, I didn't have it. Right? So I'm not looking at the one deal, I'm looking at how many more deals I'm gonna get in the future, right? And that's the most important thing to us, is how many more deals we're gonna get in the future, right? At Miami Mortgage, right? So there's other banks that tell you, listen, you go to Bank of America today, or go to Chase, Henry worked at Chase. Here's your rate. What's your down payment? Don't. Oh, they're gonna give me back $2,000. They're gonna give you what? What's your interest rate? Oh, 5.25%. Well, I'll give you a 5% and I'll give you back $2,000. How's that? You see what I'm saying? Because number one, I'm a broker and I also own the company.
They only have one rate sheet.
Right, every bank only has one rate sheet, right? Like Miami Mortgage has 8 right now. Right, I can go to 8 different banks, right? If you go to Chase, if you go to USAA Bank, if you go to TD Bank, all these guys only have one rate sheet because they have to keep the loan. They cannot sell it. Even if they do sell it to the FHA ain't giving them the money so that they can give it back. You understand? A lot of these banks don't want to do FHA loans either because the fact is that FHA loan is federal. They can go in and check their books and find out, blah, blah, blah. And they don't really want to deal with that, right? It's not their game. Most of the bank's game is credit cards, right? Or personal loan.
Just
Yeah.
straight up checking fees.
Right, but let's say
The last 10 years.
You know what it is? Bank of America, for example, right? Or Chase, they're huge on credit cards, right? So guess what? They charge you 29%. How much more? What more do they need? Why they gotta get involved in houses for? Right? They don't need that. Gotta go into foreclosure. Yeah, they lose. There's a lot of people that go into bankruptcy and they lose. Yeah, they lose. But guess what? Before they lost on you, they probably made twice as much as they lost on. Because they'll stop your credit card right off the bat. Right? They'll close your credit card down. You go and decline, you call them up, hey, you know what? You missed the last payment. You're done. You need to pay off the balance. Oh, I'm not gonna pay it. They'll never take it off your credit scores.
Even when you pay sometimes.
Well, even if you pay it, if you're late, they'll still report you, right? Even if it's for $1. I had a client here come in here. They sent in like $38 for a payment and it was $39. Guess the wife wrote 38 and thought it was 38 instead of 39. It was short $1. And they put them into collections for $1. Yeah, because the entire amount was due. That was the minimum payment was 39, not 38. So by law, they can report you to the credit bureaus as late and collect on that debt and close down your credit card. The credit card was like for $15,000, only owed like $600 on it. It's like a $38 payment. I mean 39. And she ended up paying 38.
But
They fought it, and they went to the repair company. I don't know where it's at. It's been a few months, and they haven't been able to fix it.
But it's automatic, their system just says, you need this, they hit here, boom.
Yeah.
The system just does it.
And it sends it straight out to, because they got hundreds of thousands, they got millions of
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah,
Right?
but
So,
if you can call them, explain the situation.
yeah,
the
well,
first time.
it's too late after it's already reported. Sometimes they'll retract it, right? And if you're a really good client, they'll send a letter out. One of Vashi's clients had a problem, and he called me, and I told him what he needed to do, and he called the bank because he's been with them for so long. He has so much money in his account that they actually went to TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. They wrote a letter and told him to take it off his credit report and took it back out. But that doesn't happen all the time. It's their discretion whether they want to do it or not.
I have a problem with Ashley Furniture. I opened up an account to get furniture, whatever, and at the time, I don't know if that anymore, but their system was a two-step process for automatic payments, whereas everybody else is like one step. So one step was setting up your bank account information, and then you have to go to a different page and a different link to set up and turn on automatic payments. And you have to re-enter the whole information. So I just did it thinking that I had signed up. And then all of a sudden I get a credit card notification, hey, you're 30 days late. I call them up, I'm like, listen, who would sign up for a credit card and miss their first payment? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
They reported you though.
And they reported me. So I said, listen, like, I have the money, I'll just pay it off, just close me out, like, or just remove the late fee. Oh, no, we can't do that. I said, all right, here, take your money, close my account. No, but what if you wanna buy furniture from us in the future? I said, I never wanna buy anything, not a pillow, not a comforter, not a sofa.
You're walking into a
nada.
store again.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that might happen is, you might get some graffiti on the side of the building.
We didn't hear that on YouTube.
No, I don't.
They didn't want to remove the late
No,
payment.
they were like, no.
They'll never take it
They'll
off.
never take it off.
I'll be on his
You gotta
credit
wait
for
till
7
You
years.
have to wait.
7 years is gonna have that on his credit.
But I've never bought anything from them again. I told him, I said, you lost a business, you
Yeah.
lost a client for life over
Okay.
something that was trivial, and their website, like any other credit card you get, the first thing I do is I go into the system, I put in my credit card, and I turn on my payments. I was like, why is your thing a two-step system? It's to trip people up.
That's really, that happens a lot with cars too. Sometimes you got a Honda credit, and if you don't set it up the right way, then they don't reduce it or take it out, and it becomes a problem. So it's a big issue.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta do it through them and then through a third party.
Yeah. Any questions from the people on, do we have anybody? Tiffany's joined us.
That depends on the bank.
Any questions, Tiffany?
I'm happy to meet.
Nope. Guys,
No, oh man.
thank you, Tiffany. All right, guys, interest rates have leveled off for the last 2.5 to 3 weeks, right? Because our time is up. Interest rates have leveled off, so they're around, depending on credit. We got a deal for somebody, right? 4.99, right? We're closing them next week, or next week, next Friday we're closing.
On 26.
Yeah, next Friday, yeah, next
Oh,
Friday.
yeah, next Friday. Time flies.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun and you're collecting money. So, we're closing in 4.99, you guys got a 760 something credit score, putting down 20%, you got a 4.99% interest rate. So we're closing people in the fives. The normal rate right now for an FHA loan is in the low fives as well, right? A conventional is anywhere between 5.5 to 6.25%, depending on credit as well.
Would
But
an 800 get you into the mid-4s or not?
anything over 780s is like basically A paper. So you got 760, 780 is about that.
Okay.
The thing is that, guys, one thing that you guys wanna understand about interest, right? So there's a lot of different variables that go into it, right? So we can sit here for an hour or more and talk about the variables, but make it real simple. So if you have a high credit score, right? If you have a high credit score, but you're putting down 5%, now the bank is on the hook for 95% of the property, so your interest rate's gonna be higher. Also, if you're buying in a condominium, right, there's a lot of restrictions with condominiums. The condominium can take the house, right, because you didn't pay the association fees or something, right? So the bank is gonna charge you another 0.25% to say, you know what, listen, 85%, 90% of people always make all their payments. But But that 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10% of the people that don't, are the ones that screw everything over, right? So everybody's got to pay for it. So the bank charges you an upcharge on that. So if you put down 20%, so when you see these things that come out, you see them all the time. Have interest rates at 4.25%. Yeah. You put down 25%, you got a 760 or 780 credit score, you probably get a 4.25%. If you put 25% down. But if you're putting down 5%, your interest rate is going to go higher, because I know you always say, what's the interest rate? Well, guys, it all depends on the terms, right? So it's just like you selling a house, right? In the old days, you could go out and say to somebody, like, oh yeah, you know, I'm gonna list your house and you gotta give back 3% closing costs. Now, the guy's paying $20,000 over appraisal price. So things change, so the terms change. So the great thing about that is that you guys have to understand the opportunity that you guys have when you guys go into a selling presentation or a buyer's presentation by being able to have all this information available to your clients, right? Because you're not just there for one deal, you're there for 20 deals. Imagine if there's an agent in this office that's been around for a very long time. And last year at the Christmas party, she floored me. She sold $15 million by herself, no team, no nothing. And she doesn't make any calls, she doesn't do anything. You know what it is? All of the people from the last 25, 30 years that she's been doing this, that she just stays in contact by sending out a thank you card or a Christmas card, or just calling every once in a blue moon as friends. And they say, oh, my son is buying, or my cousin is buying, or my sister's coming from Chicago, or my sister's coming from Detroit. And she's the realtor. So she got 30, 40 people like that. She's been doing it for 20, 30. She gets at least, she told me, I asked her, she says, I get every year at least 5 to 10 deals a year from people just calling me that they're either gonna list or that one of their kids is buying. That's huge, right? But you have to build that database and build that up. Anything else, guys? Hey guys, thank you so much. Miami Mortgage Black Jesus in the house. Have a great day.